You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. Thank you guys so much for watching. Monday, March 10th. It's a beautiful way to start the week. Weather much nicer than last week and the previous week. It's supposed to be a great week, so get outside and enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for watching right now. If you're live on YouTube, we appreciate that. The subscribers are up to closing in on 750. We want to get to 800 by the end of this week. So if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Also tell a friend or two or 10 about what we're doing each and every day here in the Quad Cities, and see if we can get those subscriptions up to 1,000. That's my goal right now. We are live on X. We want to thank everyone for watching on X. It was a little dicey today. X was down for about 2-3 hours. But we are live on X. The simulcast to X has helped out viewership a ton, so we appreciate you guys if you are watching on X. And also, if you're checking us out on the podcasting platforms, we appreciate that as well. The numbers are up there as well. So you take a day like today. It's gorgeous outside. It's beautiful outside. Go outside, download the app, go for a run, or go download the podcast, go for a run and listen to us talk about sports as you get yourself back into shape after the long winter months. So if you have a podcasting platform that you use, we should be on it. If there is one that you can't find us on, let me know. But Apple, Podbean, Spotify, all the good stuff, you can find us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. It was a great week last week. We welcomed a new sponsor, Godfather's Pizza here in the Quad Cities, a sponsor of the show. We want to thank them and all of their support. A new sponsor coming your way later this week as well, so we're excited about that. Also, viewership was great. We thank you guys for that, and we had some great shows. We had Gary Dolphin on with Pat Anger on Monday. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. On Wednesday, Scott Docterman was with us. He had a bunch of great information about everything. Football, NFL Combine, the draft coming up, all that kind of stuff. So check out Doc from Wednesday. Our old friend Celia Palermo was with us on Thursday, so go check out Celia as well. And also Ray Shevlin, St. Ambrose legendary basketball coach, joined us on Friday. A lot of other stuff in between that as well, but those were the headlines from last week. Go check out last week's episodes if you get bored sometime today as well. It was a lot of fun last week. On today's show, it's Monday, so we're going to welcome our good friend Pat Anger to the show, as we always do. The sun is shining, so I'm sure Pat's in a great mood. We'll talk to Pat about his weekend. NFL free agency starts today, so I don't know what that means with Pat, but we'll tie it all together, make some sense with that, and always fun when Pat comes on the show. People have said to me, we love the way you try to keep Pat in check on the show, and I don't think I do. I think we come on and we have some fun, so Pat Anger in a matter of moments. Also, coming up a little later, Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report joins us. Tommy celebrated a birthday last week. The Iowa Hawkeye men shocked everybody yesterday. Went to Nebraska, won that game. They're in the Big Ten tournament. We'll talk to Tom about all that in just a little bit. And also, our very first Coach's Corner coming up in the second hour of the show. You see, there was a very controversial high school basketball game over the weekend in 1A in the state of Illinois. Lanark-Eastland versus Pecatonica. Pecatonica had beaten Lanark-Eastland twice during the season, including once by 30. So Lanark decided to shorten the game. They basically held the basketball the entire first quarter. It was 1-0 after the first quarter. It was 8-5 at halftime, and Lanark-Eastland actually upset the number one ranked team in the state by doing that strategy. No shot clock in Illinois. Doesn't come for 2 more years. So we'll talk to 3 area coaches. Sean Taylor from Moline, Henry Hall from Rock Island, and Geneseo girls basketball coach Scott Hardison. They'll all join me to talk about that, their thoughts on that. We'll debate that. Also look at some other rules changes in the state of Illinois when it comes to high school basketball. So that will be a lot of fun in hour number 2. Some quick high school notes. Congratulations to Rock Falls. They won a sectional championship on Friday. Their first sectional championship since 2006. The Rockets will play tonight in Sterling, so basically a home court advantage against Chicago Christ the King. So best of luck to Coach Sandrock and the Rockets, see if they can punch their ticket to state later on this evening. Sherrard lost on Friday to Peoria Manual, but they gave Manual everything they could handle, and we expected that from Alex Johnson and company. Congratulations to Sherrard on their fantastic season. And in Iowa, one team still remains. Central DeWitt plays tonight. The boys will take on number 1 seed Clear Creek at 5:30. So we wish them the best of luck. See if they can knock off the number 1 seed in the state. But we start our Mondays like we always do with a styling and profiling. Pat Anger, you look good out in the sun, sunglasses on. Life's good.
Thanks, man. I'm just trying to get that vitamin D. But no, I wanted to make sure I give you the best service here. I didn't want to be inside and have it, mess up. So I wanted to make sure that I got in a good spot where the wireless is beautiful.
So you're basically in a van down by the river right now. Is that kind of close?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, in a truck, literally, yeah, right by the river. What's
Beautiful.
funny, is like that was when Chris Riley said that was like a bad thing, right, back then. But now people are paying like hundreds of $1,000s to buy a van so they can just live by the river. It's strange.
It's weird how
I miss
everything
Chris
goes
Farley,
full. I miss him. Everything goes full circle. You think one thing. I'm hoping. I haven't been cool my entire life, and I'm hoping eventually things come full circle. And some part of
so.
Hey, maybe big ears might be cool here eventually. Maybe.
That's a great point. I mean, in the North Pole, they're cool, so I think you should be fine.
Yeah, if I go to the North Pole. How was your weekend, friend?
It was fine. I'm trying to think about what I did. Emma had my 10-year-old had baseball tryouts this weekend. Oh, I hear the train a coming. It's rolling around the bend. Come on, give it to me.
What?
Let's go.
Why?
Those are the real engineers. The real engineers right there. Those are real engineers.
Why do I feel like this is what you do every morning? Is you go outside and try to get the trains to. Did you used to do that to trucks? We used to do that to semi trucks. This whole thing, and you get them to.
I still do.
Right now. So, all right, let's bring you back.
They just flipped me off. Anyway,
so,
my kid had little league tryouts. Which it's weird. It's like, I don't know. My kid's been doing it for so long. That they throw them like 10 balls or whatever the hell it is. Like all the parents swarm to the batting cage. And they're going to make the team no matter what. It's so stupid. It's like they get so excited about these kids hitting these meaningless balls. And I've pretended I was on a phone call for about an hour so I didn't have to talk to anyone.
It's different. And so this is the Little League side of it. And he does the travel side. It kind of they interact over there in the rich part of wherever you live, Bettendorf, Davenport.
Watch it. Southeast Little League. It's great. It's kids have fun with it, and they're still allowed to do the travel ball stuff. And I like the people there. It's a good time.
No, absolutely.
I do enjoy it, but it's just like, guys, it's not that serious.
What do you learn about 10 swings? What is a guy, if you just watch a random 10-year-old swing the bat 10 times? What are you getting at? Like, are you figuring out if he's good or bad in 10 swings?
Yeah. Well, then they're all taking notes and all this stuff. It's like, you guys are losers. You guys are all losers.
It said, coming from the guy who's standing on his phone pretending to talk to people on his phone to get away from people. So, no. Anything else? Anything else fun? Did you do anything fun, exciting?
Trivia night. I had a little Paul Norton trivia night on Friday. Yeah, it was good. Didn't cheat. So that was good.
Pat.
A little bit. I cheated a little bit.
Okay. How'd you do? Did you guys do well?
I don't know. We left, I think, last round. It was getting a little late, and I was tired.
So you weren't doing well, or you wouldn't have left?
I think we were doing fine. Yeah, I think we got most of them right. I don't know.
Is there a ringer in your group? I've done trivia nights. I like trivia nights, but there's always like 2 or 3 guys that are really smart and they'll say the answer and I'll go, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's it.
Yeah,
that's
no,
what I was
that's me.
thinking. Okay.
I'm the that's what I'm thinking guy. It's great though to co-sign on it.
That's what it is. It's like, oh, and then when they're wrong, I'll be like, I could have sworn. I could have sworn that was what it was. I can't
so
even pronounce the word. Yeah. But and then the bad thing is the sports categories come up and they all look to me like I'm an encyclopedia. And I'm like, God, I can't remember my name half the time, more or less. Who won the Super Bowl 3 years ago, Pat?
No idea.
Me neither. Like, it's those
Probably
kind of things.
God, who did win it? The Chiefs?
Yeah, that's probably an easy one. Yeah, good call. If you don't get that one right. I remember one time I went to one, and it was what's longer, a baseball, the pitcher's mound from baseball, pitcher's mound to home plate, or a bowling alley? Which one's longer?
Pitching mound, right? What's the answer?
Yeah, God, I don't know. Whatever the answer was, I got wrong, and I wore it for the rest of the time. What is pitcher's mound? 60 feet, 6 inches?
I have no idea.
That 6 inches makes the difference, if you ever heard that before. So that's the difference between the two of them is like 6 inches. So that's the difference between the two. What are you chuckling about? My God.
Nothing.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So anyways, I enjoy trivia nights, but I'm not smart enough to do them. It is, what
did you do this weekend?
What did I do this weekend? You know what's not bad right now? It's that little, basketball's done, baseball's not ready yet. And so what's sad is I enjoyed it. And I thought to myself, like, this is what life's like without youth sports. I could get used to this. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a bad thing.
Yep. It's our what 3 or 4 weeks of freedom.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And think about the money we're not spending. It's pretty good.
No, you're
think
exactly
what we could
right.
be doing.
I don't even know what I did this weekend. Oh, on Saturday, kids had
Isn't it
stuff
hard?
still.
Like it's Monday. Like this weekend was yesterday, and I was trying to figure out what the heck I did. I cleaned out the garage. That was nice. There was a lot of just.
I did too. Nobody wants to listen to this. People are like, oh, Dazzo and Pat are going to talk about something great. And like, oh, I cleaned out my garage too. So no, I mean, it wasn't, I went and had a, you know what? Last week, and I didn't even mention on the show, Scott Weiss had a birthday last week.
Oh,
so I met him out.
My man.
I met him out and some other people for a drink in the afternoon. I didn't get to stay out too long. I had to pick up a kid from baseball and all that kind of stuff. My high schooler's still already doing crap and stuff. So
you drive your kids around after a couple drinks, huh?
A drink.
Police.
Diet Pepsi. Yeah, exactly. I had a Diet Pepsi and I ran back over and got him. So yeah, that. And you know what I talked to you about before we got on? I'm on a diet, or I'm trying to lose weight, and it sucks, man.
I can tell, man. You look good.
No,
you look great.
You're lying. You're flat out lying. But I'll take it.
You look so
Thanks,
good.
pal. I'll take it. Yeah. And like, why? Here's how it always happens. Like, you know what it's like. It gets better weather, and you're like, crap, I can't wear like these things all the time. I got to like start wearing t-shirts and stuff. So, but my wife started it, and she doesn't listen to the pod, but she didn't need to lose any weight, and she started doing like the eating healthy and all that kind of stuff. So, me, I'm sitting back, I'm like, well, she's obviously going to leave me because she's.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's
right?
exactly what happens. She found somebody at work, for sure.
Yeah.
I've seen it a million times.
Yeah. Thank you for talking me off the ledge so that I didn't overreact or anything like that. So I was like, well, you know what? I need to get going too. And I usually wait till after the NCAA tournament and start really getting after it. But I'm like, why not? So I do that intermittent fasting. Have you ever done that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's the way we're supposed to eat.
What's your
Obviously,
rules?
I don't do it because I eat all the time.
What's your rules? When you do it, what's your rules? Like what time?
When I do it right?
Yeah.
Which only lasts a couple days. I'll fast until about 1 or 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then stop eating at like, I don't know, what is it, 8-ish?
Oh.
And usually it's just, problem is though, when I fast, I will not eat and then I will eat everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I'll make up for it.
Yeah.
But I really do think that's the way we're meant to eat, that's kind of, I don't want to do it. But
I'm doing noon to 5
smart.
right now. And I was mad because like one day I like talked to Jen, it was Saturday, and I was like, man, like, I didn't lose anything yesterday. And she's like, what'd you have to eat? And I said, well, it's the first Friday of Lent, so we met, Wheezy and I and some others met at Long John Silver's. And she's like, well, you can't eat Long John Silver's and expect to lose weight. Like, they don't go together. So, yeah, she's so smart.
Do whatever you want.
What's that?
You can do whatever you want, man. This is America.
I wish. So, so Twitter was down. X was down earlier today. And I was flipping out because, one, we're on X, so I like people to watch via X. Two, it's NFL free agency. It opens today. I'm trying to think back. Did you ever hit free agency?
Yeah. So my did my 4 years with the Colts. My last year I had microfracture surgery on my knee. So that's like a 6 to 12 month recovery. Basically, I think. I can't remember. So I was a free agent, but I was also really pretty much unable to walk. So nobody was gonna pick me up at all.
Well,
but so then
I was gonna say timing sucks because it's when you become a free agent. If you were a free agent like a year or two earlier, you probably you wouldn't be talking to me right now, obviously.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. I would not be hanging out with you or anything, but but it is what it is. And, I got an opportunity to, and basically, there were a lot of teams that reached out during that free agency, like, hey, when he gets healthy, we want him. And there was only one team that, held true to their word. And I do, and obviously they ended up cutting me, but I do really appreciate them for that. And that was the Atlanta Falcons. And, their ownership and their GM and their head coach, like, they were very honest and they gave me a shot. And it was, it was tough because it was kind of at a point where it's like, time's kind of ticking by and I need to take any option I can get. And that was really the only option at that time. And as far as just like a defensive standpoint, like, it wasn't where I fit at all. I mean, I was more of a Tampa 2 type guy, a 4-3, and they were a 3-4, which is all very kind of similar. But so, yeah, I had to kind of take that opportunity and I had some fun down there. And really that was kind of the first time in a while where I had fun playing football. My last couple of years at Indy, it was a struggle. I mean, I had 6 surgeries in 2 years. It was really draining on me mentally. It was tough. So I wanted to get through a camp without any painkillers, anything like that. Cause you're so banged up, you can't perform without them. And I wanted to get off all that stuff and I was able to and enjoyed it because I kind of realized like, hey, this is probably my last shot. And, I remember, now I can't think of the linebacker coach, but he was a really great guy. And he had called me, after I'd gotten released, he just said, hey, I've never seen someone have as much fun as you, at camp. And, hey, that meant a lot. So I was happy with that. Cause I played fine. I had a good time, but for me, where my body was, like, there was I couldn't have got through a whole season. I could barely get through camp. And, you're going to have to pay me veteran minimum when you can pay this rookie that's going to be healthy and, play all the special teams and all that stuff. So I get it from a business standpoint. Obviously it sucked at that time, but the hard part is your body's ready to retire before your mind is. So like after that, like for the next like 3 years, I was like, all right, maybe they're going to call me when the playoffs start. And, obviously now I know that I've got no shot unless it's like a bench press competition.
There's no chance of a comeback. Come on, man. How great would that be?
I did play my kids in basketball yesterday and I whooped them. So no big deal.
Ooh, we'll talk about that in a second. Did that a train behind you? I heard the train go off.
Yeah. Folsom Prison.
When you see some of the contract numbers right now, like, you chose well to play football because that makes sense. I mean, there's ridiculous. Like, J.C. Horn just resigned for $25 million a year. Myles Garrett, $40 million a year. Josh Allen yesterday got a ridiculous like $230 million guaranteed. Back when you were a free agent, and obviously it was different for you, but numbers weren't like that. But man, it's getting crazy when it comes to the money in the NFL.
Well, what's kind of nuts when you look at, I mean, I was a second round pick, end of the second round. But then I want to say Brock Purdy's contract, and he was the last draft pick. I want to say his was like more than mine.
Wow.
I want to say.
Wow.
So, that would have been nice, but I don't know. That could be completely false, but I feel like I looked it up one day, but it could have been a dream. Who knows? But yeah, I used to, when I was playing, there was a time where I would be like, not jealous, be like, I can't believe they're paying this guy. He's not that good, And then, you kind of find out, like, the NFL is going to be the NFL without you. They're going to move on without you.
Yeah.
So you got to get yours when you got a chance to get it. So I ended up, I celebrate people's success because, like, that's awesome, man. It's good to see, a guy, who kind of went through the same struggles that you went through, like, get paid. Like, it's awesome because, it's not easy. And those elite guys to make that money, like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. But hey, dude, good for them, man. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's what was funny about this morning because I wanted to get on X just to look at the free agency stuff because it's bigger than, it's just as big. It's bigger than Major League Baseball's by far, the NBA's by far. Like, it's a huge week for the NFL. And they do a great job of, free agency in March. The draft is next week in April. May, you don't have much. I think they probably have the schedule release in May. They always keep something going. And then June, boom, people are going to camp and like NFL's back. It's like in preseason and here we go. It's like, it's they do a great job of making this an entire, we just had the Super Bowl in February, March. There's not a month that it's not leading the headlines with all these kind of things. But I figured with free agency going on, and the NFL and people are talking about it, we needed to stay football based today. So I looked at a few different things. I thought, like, toughest players you played against, and I didn't want to make you think too much about all that kind of stuff. And so
thanks, man.
People love environments. So you played did you play in every NFL stadium?
No.
Did you Which ones, do you know which one? Is there one that you didn't play in that you wish you would have gotten to play in?
Yeah, I wish I would have played in the Seahawks stadium. Mm-hmm. I feel like that looks like a good time.
Yeah. What was
that looks fun, especially like if it's like, if it's a Sunday night game or something like that. And there's two good teams, there's a lot on the line. Like that looks like a good one.
Lucas Oil was good, right? That was a great environment for you guys.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Lucas Oil was great. The fans were awesome. I guess one of the hard part is, like, the fans are so used to winning. They're so used to Peyton just throwing for a million touchdowns and a million yards. That a lot of times they wouldn't get super into it because they were just so used to Peyton's going to figure it out. And most of the time he did. But, when it was like a playoff game, like the regular season to playoffs is completely different from just a environment perspective. Guys are moving faster. The lights are brighter. Like playoffs is something special anywhere you play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Not everything is Lions to me, but it is. But that Ford Field this year, it was, and last year was ridiculous. Well, it's because they've never been there. There's something to be said about that. Then people, they get it all the time. Fan bases, they get it all the time. So, college football wise is kind of where I want to go with, because you are the voice, not the voice. Hey,
I'm not the voice.
How fun was Gary last week? Not to get off subject,
Gary's the best.
But he's
great.
I could listen to him, and that's why people do it every Saturday for 5 hours or whatever it is. I could listen to him tell stories and talk all day. He is as sharp as it gets. He said 73. Bullshit, he's 73. That guy's doing great stuff. He's awesome.
He's amazing. You realize, obviously he's great. You listen to him on the radio, but until like you really work with him and see everything that he does and just how sharp he is and how he's willing to just navigate through everything. Because he's got the really hard part. My part's easy. He's got the really tough part, and he does it with such ease. And I just couldn't imagine doing that day in and day out and keeping that same level of excitement. And as well, like he's doing, halfway through the season, he's doing basketball as well. So he's doing the, two shows during the week, 2 Hawk Talks during the week. He's doing the basketball games and the football games, and he does it with still the same amount of energy as like a 20-year-old.
Yeah. No, the thing I'll say, and I'm not trying to get Dolph in trouble, but you two are way more similar than I thought you were, which is a good thing. He's just so down to earth. Do you know what I mean? Some people that have been the voice of the Hawkeyes for as long as he have, could get a little conceited, a little arrogant, all that kind of stuff. Man, he is as down to earth as we can. So anyways, go check out last week's. That was last week's. But people love you for being a former Hawkeye and all that kind of stuff, and now calling games for the Hawkeyes and being the color commentator. I asked you, I gave you homework, your best 5 stadiums you ever got to play in. And I'm going to try to guess them. So I don't want you to ramble them off.
I'm going to keep this Big Ten. I'm going to keep this Big Ten affiliated.
That helps me because that eliminates some of the things. And also, so Jack Trice Stadium is not on there.
No, but it would be up there. It would be up there because when those rivalry games are amazing and their fans show up, and it's a lively event, and you do enjoy playing up. But last time I played up there, we won by 100, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But when it's like a close game, I guess I'm sure the fans kind of get a little bit more involved.
You guys won by 100. Just you threw that in there. Just want to double check. You said 100. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I played, we never lost.
Number 1 on your list is Kinnick, and we're going to take that off the list, right? So we're not counting Kinnick.
Yeah.
Game plays.
Definitely.
All right. I'm going to go bottom. I'm going to go top down. I have to. I think
5 to 1 or 1 to 5.
I'm going to go 1 because I can't think back that way and rank them. So
and
number 1,
I want you. My list is based off of my experience. It's based off the environment that I was in. So I want that to clear it up for you as well.
Yeah. Okay. I love that.
Okay.
I think I can get them. Okay. There's 5. I get 1 mess up and that's it.
Sure. Honestly, you can mess up as much as you want.
But I want to play a game. It's about playing a game and having
Losers got to shave their head.
No. Okay. So number 1, I think is going to be Penn State. Is it Beaver Stadium?
Yep. Penn State, and it was a night game. It was a whiteout. They were ranked really high. We were undefeated, but we weren't ranked, and that was a hell of a game, man. That was awesome. We weren't winning until the fourth quarter, and Claiborne blocked that punt, and obviously I had a good game, so then it makes it a little bit better, makes it a little bit more exciting.
Yeah. I hear it was a happy.
They scored the first play of the game. And Daryl Clark flexed. And he was bigger and stronger than everybody on our team. And I'm like, we might lose by 1,000. Like, this isn't good.
So the flex didn't motivate you. You were like, oh shit, we're in trouble.
Well, yeah. And then, luckily we just kind of stayed in the game and we outlasted them.
Luckily
we're tougher and better and cooler.
You got a tougher, bigger guy like Adrian Claiborne that helps. So that kind of helps.
Yeah, he helped.
Score. Yeah.
Helped.
Okay. So
our D line was so good that year, man. Gosh, they were good.
Because I think you're thinking like specific games. Number 2, I'm going to go with Michigan State.
So number 2, I have Wisconsin.
No, just tell me where Michigan State was.
Oh,
are they on there at all?
Michigan State's number 4.
Okay. So we'll talk. So 1 was Penn State. Hey,
yep.
I'm going to get 2. What about Wisconsin? What do you think? Did I get
it? a night game in Wisconsin, the jump around stuff. Obviously, I don't think it's as great anymore. I haven't been there in a while, but dude, that's a fun place to play, man.
Is Iowa at Wisconsin next year?
I would assume, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So you'll get to see.
How am I supposed to know this?
Why would you assume that it's not as good as anymore?
I don't know. I mean, they haven't really been great these last couple of years.
That's true. All right, Wisconsin at number 2. It is. I've never seen the jump around, which annoys me because I've been to visiting stadiums, and that's not one I've been to. I've been to the Kohl Center for basketball. I haven't been up there for a football game, so that bums me out. And I'll have to figure out a way to get up there for one of them. But number 4, Michigan State. You have Michigan State. I've heard their environment's not great. Is it more about the night game that you played in, and obviously the 7 got 6 and yada yada yada?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. But it was always fun playing up there. And one of the things too, like the style too with Wisconsin, like they're going to run. Back at that time we played Michigan State. They're very similar to Wisconsin as far as that power O stuff, that inside zone, outside zone, and the matchup was great. So it was going to be a fist fight. The environment was great, and night game, and we won, and we're the best.
I'd have to say Ohio State falls on that list, and I'm going to put them at 3.
Correct. Now, that game didn't end as good as I had imagined. Terrell Pryor's really good at football. but that was a game. That was when we showed up there, and we used to go there the night before to make sure we brought all our stuff, check our lockers. They had their because whoever won went to the Rose Bowl, so they had their last Rose Bowl game playing on the jumbotron, and they had roses on the 50-yard line. I was like, "You savvy dudes, man!"
They knew it was.
I love the gamesmanship.
But with that being said, you went in there without Ricky, and you nearly won the game. Didn't they go to overtime?
Went to overtime. Yeah, James played his butt off. That little skinny guy, little wiry guy, he did good. I didn't play really great on defense, I don't think, for me personally. But sometimes the other team's got good players too, unfortunately.
Yeah, you didn't go to the Rose Bowl, but the Orange Bowl ended up okay, right? I mean, it was
Orange
all right.
Bowl was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you proposed to your lovely wife at the Orange Bowl.
It did, yeah.
I got to
She's still with me.
One of these weeks, we're going to talk more about that because I don't know if it was lame or not lame. I don't want to get into it now.
It wasn't the on the field thing. It wasn't the on the field thing. It was after.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah, it wasn't the on the field thing. It was after.
Okay, we'll talk about it another day because we're really into
It's
this
not
top
that
five.
cool. I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And now she regrets it.
No. Well, now we can't talk about it later. You just gave everything away. Where were you at? Where were you, like, it wasn't on the field. What were you, like, in the locker room?
No. We were back at the Fountain Blue or whatever.
Okay.
And then we met up with her parents
I
afterwards.
feel bad for Mary.
Yeah, dude, me too.
I feel bad for Mary and Jen. Like, I don't know which one I feel worse for. Probably Jen. But anyways, that's a different top 5 list. That's a different top 5 list later on. All right, number 5. Number 5 has to be, and I don't think Michigan's a great environment. I just think it's big. But I'm guessing, because, like, I don't think you played at Nebraska, did you? Nebraska wasn't a thing back then. So you take that out, and that'd be good. I don't think Minnesota's got a good environment back then. It might be better now with Fleck. I can't stand that dude, but whatever they do. Northwestern's not going to happen. Illinois, I don't think back then, especially
Northwestern Illinois, the worst to play in, the
Yeah.
absolute worst.
Yeah. Which one's worse, Northwestern or Illinois?
I would say when I played, it was Illinois.
Which is different now, but I would, and it's
definitely different now.
But that's only been recently.
Now you got a Hawkeye running it. It's probably great.
It's weird how that works, isn't it? It's weird.
Yep.
So I'm going along, and Indiana's not happening, Purdue's not happening. It's got to be Michigan by default. Michigan and number 5.
It is Michigan. We had a package there. This was my sophomore year, the only time I played there. It was called NASCAR, and I would come in and play D-end. And so I'm all excited. They call it. It's like third down or whatever. And I get in my stance, and Jake Long is right across from me. Remember Jake Long?
Yeah.
And he just put his hand out on my face, and I'm like, and then I spin off and I tackle Chad Henne like 5 seconds after he threw the ball. And I think it was so late that like nobody saw it. And he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. Sorry."
Well, that's like what you do with a kid, like your little kids.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did to me.
You just put your hand out.
I mean, I'm like 220 at the time. He's 9 foot tall, 400 pounds. Yeah.
I love that. And so the worst two are Northwestern and Illinois.
Yeah. And I will tell you from a radio guy standpoint.
Ooh.
And I've seen a couple this year, obviously. The best by far, Minnesota.
Really?
The
well,
best.
that was a night game. That was a night game and a rivalry.
Yeah, I'm just talking
game.
about just from the booth and how nice everybody is. Like that, Minnesota was top notch. I could do a cartwheel in the booth, like that was, and I did one.
Oh, so you're talking about like, okay, so your guys is
from an analyst radio standpoint.
Oh,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Minnesota's great.
How is Iowa's like middle of the pack, or is Iowa's on the lower end?
No. I was up there. I was great. It gets a little crammed sometimes, but no, I was perfect.
You
and
have
obviously
to say
you're
that.
comfortable. You're comfortable with it because you've been there every day. The bathrooms are close, which is always a struggle. I tell you what, UCLA wasn't great.
Yeah,
UCLA wasn't great.
I would guess like Maryland
talking
and
to Dolph-
Rutgers. would be bad.
Talking to Dolph, like there were times when Dolph would do the radio and he would like be up on the roof, like up on top of the roof with like an umbrella or something, like back in the day.
Man, I'm telling you, people think football players are tough. Old school radio guys. I said the story last week, but Rob Brooks told me that he pulled his own. He not pulled his own, but he refused to get Novocaine because he didn't want to mess up the broadcast that night and had 3 teeth pulled without. Which, by the way, like 3 teeth is a lot of teeth. Like, what are we doing? But anyways, that was a whole different sidebar that I was thinking about. Hey, before we let you go, because that was fun. That was enjoyable. You took
Thanks,
it
man.
and you just turned it around to like your favorite games. but
Yes.
but that's okay. That works.
No, Ohio State was not my favorite. Ohio
Yeah,
State
that's
wasn't
true.
my favorite.
Did you win at Michigan?
No, we lost. We lost.
So, and you won at Wisconsin.
yeah.
So it's win,
Well, I'm thinking of the
win,
Wisconsin. When we
loss.
played them my senior year, when we played Wisconsin my senior year, I mean, I don't think it was a high scoring game. We didn't win by a lot, but you know, we were going to beat them no matter what. But when a night game, I want to say it was my sophomore year when I played them, and it was a pretty lively group.
Yeah.
And that game was the game that kind of changed my whole career. All the linebackers had gotten hurt, and instead of putting me in, they put somebody else in, and it was kind of a turning point in my career to kind of get my life together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you just expected to go in and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, why am I not going in?
Correct. Yeah.
Did you talk to anybody afterwards? A coach? Like, how did you handle that?
Yeah. Well, the hard part is the hard part is like you start pointing fingers, right? And well, you know, I'm getting screwed over and this and that. And you start, you know, and your family, they're going to give you benefit of the doubt, right? They're gonna trust you that you're doing the right things. And at that time in my life, I hadn't earned it. I hadn't earned their benefit of the doubt, and I hadn't earned the coach's trust. And it took me about a week to kind of look in the mirror and be like, dude, you put yourself in this situation and you have to change it. And from that point forward, I took ownership in everything I did, and I made Iowa football the most important thing in my life. And I wasn't good until I did that. And I truly, really wasn't an Iowa football player until I made Iowa football the most important thing in my life. Now, I always worked hard and all that stuff, but it was off the field. It was, you know, I needed to eat healthier. I needed to, you know, study more. I needed to be a true Hawkeye. And, you know, if you want to be a good Hawkeye linebacker, you got to make being a good Hawkeye linebacker the most important thing in your life. Until you do that, you're just the dude on the team.
Got him. That fires me up. I want to be the best unemployed guy hosting a podcast in his loft ever. I think I can do that.
You can do it. But you know, for me, like that was the best thing that could have happened to me. You know, if they would have put me in and I would have done well, I probably wouldn't have changed. I probably would have thought, hey, whatever.
That would have just covered up the problem, if
Yep,
that makes sense. Sometimes
100%.
success covers up the real problem.
Accountability is huge, and I was very happy that at that time in my life I took ownership. And you know, the hard part is like nowadays, what would I probably have done? Entered the transfer portal.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know if I would have done that, but I mean that would have been an option.
Yep.
And instead of like, hey, get your stuff together and start doing things the right way. And you know, I had conversations with Coach Doyle, and his thing was like, dude, you're faster than ever. You're as fast as anybody, you know, in the linebacker room. You're as strong as anybody, but you're not playing. He's like, what are you, afraid of success? And I was like, whoa, you know. And I think sometimes your ego kind of stops you from doing those little things. Like, oh, you don't want to be in the meeting rooms all the time watching film. That, you know, that's too cool for that. But no, you're not. You know what's cool? You know what's really cool is playing in front of freaking 70,000 people every weekend. And kicking the crap out of somebody. Like, that's cool. It's not cool being the cool guy at the bar. It's not cool being the cool guy, you know, at the party. It's cool freaking knocking people's heads off in Kinnick. Like, that's cool.
Man, you haven't done an anger management in a while, and I feel like you just did an anger management. That's good stuff. Yeah. But you're right, though,
well,
Pat.
yeah.
Like, they would just leave. Like, right now, that would just, it's almost like instead of taking self-accountability, and again, the transfer portal, there's reasons to get into it. Not all reasons are bad reasons. And for some people, like it's the right thing to do. But I think for, I don't know how much percentage or whatever, but for a lot of it, it masks the issues and you become someone else. I don't want to say somebody else's problem, but what's the problem just shifts to a different university instead of taking and solving it where you're at.
Yeah, you're putting a Band-Aid on it, right? Instead of fixing the problem, you're just putting a Band-Aid on it and moving on. And I think that's something too that like you see it in youth sports, right? Everybody's looking for like the next best thing. Oh, he didn't get that much playing time. We're going to go to this other team or whatever. Like, no, I'm going to buckle down and I'm going to fight and I'm going to do whatever it takes to freaking to do well. I mean, I think the most motivating thing that can happen to a player is sitting on the bench.
I love it, man. I love it. Before we let you go, a couple more quick things. We'll run through Iowa sports quickly because it's going longer than I thought. But it's amazing when we have nothing to talk about on a Monday and we talk for the entire time. But let's start with wrestling. Disappointing Big Tens for the Iowa wrestling. They move on and do more obviously after that. But just talk about what you saw from Iowa wrestling this weekend.
Well, and I think, I don't know. I mean, you look at like, and I kind of have it written down, not written down, but I had it kind of printed off. And I mean, some of these guys that are, third place, fourth place, like some of them were national finalists last year. Like some of them were Big Ten champs last year. Like there is nothing harder than college wrestling. Like these guys are legit. And obviously there's some guys that, obviously didn't do as good as you thought, but they're still in the tournament. It's next best thing. It's next best. You look at the next best thing and get your body ready, get your mind right, and move forward. And you still have an opportunity to reach your goals. And I believe in the guys. I believe in the staff. They're freaking amazing people, and they know their stuff. And really impressed with Keeter. I think he finally looked like that Keeter, that we've seen growing up and watched for so long. It was really cool to see him get third place. I think he's figuring it out. And that's tough on him. I mean, shoot, he's a freshman. That's tough on a kid, especially at that weight. He's undersized, and was very impressed with him this weekend. Obviously, Drake got caught. Caliendo's, he's amazing. He could be a national finalist. Buchanan could be a national finalist. I mean, we could have a lot of guys do that. And I trust the people we have on staff. And obviously, I'm a huge Iowa wrestling fan, and Ryan Morningstar is one of my best friends, and I'm fired up for him. I love this time of year. I love watching wrestling. It's the best.
Yeah, no, well said. I'd ask you about Iowa basketball, but Tom Kakert is coming up after the break. So you don't need to get you talking about basketball because
I'll give it a little bit, man. How awesome is that? Everybody was counting them out. That's so great. That is so good. Good for them. Good for those guys.
Nebraska,
coming together.
To beat Nebraska, to do it to that school
at Nebraska.
Again? Yes.
Like to be able to go to Nebraska, a must-win game for both teams, like you're in a tough environment to come together and get that win, dude. That says a lot about the leaders they have on that squad, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, look at you all fired up about basketball. We're not going to talk about the horse. We're going to do it. The biggest thing in my mind is we got to find somebody to shoot it so that people can see it. So it's but we're working on it. I got a few options. We're going to get that done. Pat, I wrote down what I learned from you today as we did our interview. And I learned that just three things. Take accountability. Huh? How about that? Yeah. That's good. Take accountability, right? Trains are cool. Like I learned that. And I learned that my wife's probably cheating on me or going to leave me. Like
I'll say probably. That. I mean,
no,
you're probably looking at 99%. I would assume. Yeah.
I gotta be careful. My wife is a wonderful woman. She would never cheat on me. So I gotta be careful.
Great. But the thing is, if she did, if she did, like it'd be like I kind of get it.
No, 100%. Like she's gonna leave me, not cheat on, but she's probably gonna leave me. Right.
She's got too much class. Your wife is the best.
She's too classy to cheat. She's just going to do it. She's probably just going to. It makes sense. I'm going to go back to not eating, and I appreciate all that and everything. So those are the three things I took out of today. But hey, man, I enjoy it. Like, it's funny because I texted you last night, and you're like, what are we going to talk about? And I was like, I don't know. We'll figure something out as we go. And here we are, 10:45, and I'm running late, which is a beautiful thing. So, hey, go back. You going to go back inside and work?
Yeah, I got to go work. I'm going to work hard today. I'm going to take some accountability in the office.
One last thing. What are you going to have for lunch? Because I can't eat very much because I'm fat. So what are you going to have?
I got to go home and take the dog out, so I'll probably just make some eggs. I love me some scrambled eggs.
Yeah, that's what I
had. Maybe throw some bacon in there.
Ooh. I like that. All right. Pat, tell everybody goodbye. We love you.
Hey, goodbye. Love you guys. Love you, Matt.
All right, see you, buddy. Pat Hanger every single Monday talking about, well, whatever we want to talk about. But that's really cool to look back at kind of the things that he remembers about stadiums, because it's not just the entire stadium, it's the experiences you have in those stadiums. So that was a lot of fun to do as well, and listen to some of the stuff. I didn't know about the accountability thing with the Wisconsin game. I've known Pat really well. I had never heard that story, so it was a lot of fun to listen to as well. So Pat Angerer on a Monday, always fun to do. We're just getting warmed up. Off the air with Matt Randazzo on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. The sun is shining. It's going to get to be like 60, 70 degrees today. So a lot of good things going on, and we got a lot more to get to. Coming up after the break, Pat just mentioned it, but the Iowa basketball team was left for dead. They were supposed to be done yesterday. And they go to Nebraska, and they handle Nebraska pretty easily. Now they go to the Big Ten tournament. So we'll talk with our own Hawkeye expert, Tom Kakert, about the Iowa basketball team as he goes from Lincoln, Nebraska to now getting ready to go to Indianapolis on Wednesday. All that, a coach's corner, and a lot more. We're just getting warmed up. It's Monday on Off the Air right here in the Quad Cities. When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad Cities' best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. Thank you guys so much for watching. Whether you're watching live on YouTube, we appreciate that. If you're checking out the podcast later on, we appreciate you guys doing that as well. If you're watching on X, God bless you. I don't think it's possible right now because I believe X is out again, which is an awful, awful thing, especially when it's the first day of NFL free agency. So anyways, we'll hopefully figure that out here real soon, but it's not an us thing. It's a whatever. So anyways, however you guys are watching, we greatly appreciate you guys doing so. As we mentioned earlier in the show, it was a successful Sunday for the Iowa basketball team. They went on the road and they took care of business, knocking off Nebraska, and they are now in the Big Ten tournament coming up on Wednesday. Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report joining us this morning. just got back from Nebraska last night. And I don't know if you knew or you didn't know if you'd be traveling this week. You now have a trip set to Indianapolis on Wednesday because the Big Ten tournament is a thing for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Before we get started, just your thoughts on, backs against the wall. I think most of this fan base and a lot of the, public had these guys written off. Impressive performance in Nebraska, not just to go to Nebraska, but under those circumstances and win by 15, Tom. That might be their best victory of the season.
It might be. I think it's funny. You almost felt like you were potentially going there to cover a funeral, and you were ended up covering a celebration instead, and a pretty feel-good moment for this program that probably hasn't had a ton of them this year, where they felt, where they could celebrate a little bit and enjoy a win and feel good about things. Meanwhile, Nebraska, boy, that's like they were flatter than a Mountain Dew that's been sitting out on the counter for about 3 days. It's just, there was no fizz to that at all. They were just nothing. And that shocks me because not only were they playing to get into the Big Ten tournament, they were like next 4 out in the NCAA tournament, potentially an NCAA tournament team. And they were flat. Yeah. And you could tell about midway through the first half that there was just nothing going with them. And meanwhile, Iowa, after a slow start, found their footing. Price Sanford came off the bench. Brock Harding came off the bench. Those guys combined to score 28 points off the bench. Evan Brauns had 6 in the first half. All 3 of those guys had 6 early. And Price in particular, 4 or 6 from 3, had some big shots. I thought he was really good. I thought Brock was really good, 12 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Not bad for a guy who apparently shouldn't be playing D1 basketball from what we've heard from folks over the season. But, we'll just, I think Brock can play.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, Tommy, we'll talk about, Brock here in a second, and there's a lot to get to, but let's look at Nebraska because, they had 3 weeks ago an 83% chance of making the NCAA tournament. February 16th, they were 17-9. They lose their last 5. They go from being in the NCAA tournament to not making the Big Ten tournament. And Iowa fans got to be excited, especially with those rivals over there because, they beat them in football, wrestling, and now men's basketball. It's been a good time for Iowa in that rivalry against the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, this weekend, though, they finished behind them in the Big Ten wrestling. Nebraska took second. But anyway, yeah, you're right. They did play well, and they have dominated that series. I thought in particular Josh Dix today, who's from Council Bluffs, I asked him after the game about that. It's a little extra special that you were able to beat the school that is housed, across the river. And he was like, yeah, I had a lot of people here today, so it was a good win for them. Peyton and Price had a lot of people there as well, coming over from Waukee, and then they've got Peyton and Price's dad grew up in Nebraska, so they had a lot of people around them. So it was a good win for Iowa, and now Nebraska may end up in the Crown at the end of March out in Vegas, or they may end up in the NIT, whatever happens with all those things. There's a chance Iowa might end up in one of those too. I have to look at the net rankings to see where people stand with the Crown, which I think is going to take the next 2 that go out to Vegas. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, but Iowa's mentality, more than one guy after the game brought up the fact that NC State last year won 5 in 5 days. Of course, I don't know that Fran would want them to bring up the NC State thing because Kevin Keats got fired on Sunday, who was their coach.
Yeah.
1
11
year,
months. 11 months from a Final Four.
yeah, 11 months out from a trip to the Final Four, and one of the biggest heaters you've ever seen in your entire life. Winning 5 in 5 days, and then going on a heater in the NCAA tournament, and then poof, you're done. You're unemployed. But at least he got those couple of years added to his contract, so I'm sure he made some bank off that.
Yeah.
But it just tells you how things can be pretty fragile and in this game, and they had a rough year this year, so it's what happens.
Yeah. Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report joining us on a Monday here on Off the Air. And, before we get ahead to the Big Ten tournament and then big picture this whole thing, because there's still that big picture going on, talk to me a little bit about that bench, because you just brought it up some, but Price Sanford, that was his best game, in my opinion, maybe as an Iowa Hawkeye, and Brock played well, and Evan Bronze played well. When you get that kind of punch, and Tommy, when you look at the beginning of the game, they had a chance to they started slow, and it was a recipe for a disaster, but they did. I remember looking at it going, Iowa can't score and they're down 5. You know what I mean? So Nebraska really didn't take advantage of a slow start, and that spark off the bench was really impressive.
It was. Price came in and just hit some corner threes. I remember one of the plays, Brock found Price over in the corner and he drilled a 3, and I thought that was a big bucket. In fact, I thought, and I tweeted it at the time, that Brock hits that 3 that go up 77-66 with about 2.5 left. I'm like, that's a dagger. That's ball game. I mean, it was just he hit the big shot that they needed to hit. The other thing that was big in this game was that Bryce Williams, the star for Nebraska, averaging 20 a game, having a terrific year, probably a first-team All-Big Ten player, and they held him to 3 of 12 shooting, 7 points, 4 rebounds. He just looked like he was playing left-handed. I mean, he was struggling the whole game. There was a point where it was 73-66, and Iowa was in front, and Nebraska had just cut it to that, and it had gotten the ball back and were coming up court and trying to set something up and got it to Williams. And I don't know, it just went off his leg or his knee or something, and Price gets it and goes down and tries to dunk it, but gets fouled and makes free throws. And I thought that was just kind of ball game there, where they had a chance if they come down and they hit a 3 and make it 73-69. Oh, okay, maybe this thing slips away. But after that, you just kind of knew they were cooked.
Let's talk about Brock. It's my favorite subject during the college basketball season, and obviously the Hawkeye Report.
You've made people mad about that too. You've skewed people apparently from the message boards.
Yeah, and people who haven't heard this on this show, according to some on Tom's website, I set the expectations too high for Brock Harding. So I guess for that, I apologize. Although every single time I talk about Brock, I talk about being biased. But I'm not going to be biased today, Tom. I mean, 23 minutes, 12 points, I think 3 of 5 from 3, 4 assists, only 1 turn, 3 rebounds, played good defense, made the dagger, the big shot when he needed it. I don't have to be biased to say Brock Harding has had several games like that, especially down the stretch. And Sunday was another one where he was really good. He was a difference maker in a positive way for the Iowa Hawkeyes, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, played really well. Made shots, made plays, found his teammates. I mean, that's the kind of Brock Harding you want to see, and he played steady. And I thought he and Drew were kind of a really good combo. Fran didn't play them together in this game. He just kind of played them separately. But between them, 18 points, 7 assists, 1 turn. It's not bad. They also combined for 5 rebounds. So that's great production out of your point guard position in this game. And, Brock played 23 and Drew played 17. So it's all 40 minutes right there. Those two guys on the floor. Huge impact plays from both of them.
You had to feel
and Drew
good.
played on that damn wheel too.
Yeah, which is probably why he gets rolling, and I think he can go early, but I think that wheel is kind of limits his minutes. And I enjoyed seeing Brock and Drew together on the floor earlier this season. And I think the big thing with that too, Tom, is it's hard to play them both without a true big because you're already short up front, and then if you go small at the guards, you really kind of leave a lot of mismatches. So I think that's a big thing to do with it. But Tom, you had to feel good for Peyton Sanford. I mean, you mentioned being in Evanston and the emotions after the Northwestern game, and then senior night, great. He didn't play great, but the team played well, almost got a victory. It got bad late, and you're thinking this could be his last game as a Hawkeye. And to see his face afterwards, knowing he gets a Big Ten tournament, and then as you mentioned, Iowa could get an NIT or elsewhere when it comes to postseason play. You had to feel good for Peyton Sanford last night, or yesterday, I should say.
Yeah, and he had been struggling from the field. I mean, I'm looking at his stat lines. Today he was 9 of 18, 2 of 9 from 3, so he didn't shoot it great from 3, but there were back-to-back threes that he hit. One of them was a really tough shot, had 8 rebounds. But, Michigan State, 4 of 12, Northwestern, 3 of 13, Illinois, 2 of 10, and he was 2 of 15 in those 3 games from 3. So he had been struggling since the Washington game where he had 27 and shot it well, I thought, and rebounded. And the Oregon game he had 25. So he had been scoring really well, but those 3 games in a row, he was on the struggle bus from the floor. So it was nice to see him making some shots, being aggressive, getting after it on the glass, just making smart plays. And Iowa was sharing the ball really well. Iowa had 0 turnovers in the second half. I mean, that just tells you a lot. They only had 4 for the game. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you win a lot of games when you take care of the ball at that level.
Yeah, and Tom, just the way second halves for Iowa on the road have gone for the most part this season, take away Rutgers, where it just doesn't go bad, it goes really bad. For them to play the way they did is good. Now, you're in Lincoln. You went there, and you mentioned, you went there maybe for a funeral, and you end up with a positive story moving forward to Indy. What was the vibe afterwards? You're there. A lot of media people are going to travel to Nebraska for, an end of the season game, maybe not make the Big Ten tournament, but you're there. What was the vibe like in the press conference room, in the locker room, around the team after the game?
I'll tell you a really cool story, and I think that the viewers may have seen it on TV because it was the interview with Peyton after the game on the court, and some of his teammates came out there on the court, and we were talking to Price about it, and Price goes, "You know why we came out there? Because they were in the locker room, and Chris Tajdo accidentally or intentionally, I'm not sure which, switched the channel, and they couldn't figure out how to get the thing back on when they were watching Peyton's interview. So they just decided we're just going to run out there and watch it from right there in the court." So that's what happened with it. So they blamed Chris Tajdo got thrown under the bus for that one, but they were really happy. They really were, because they wanted to continue to play. They wanted to, they feel like they can make a run. Hey, why not? It just, it would feel really, I'd hate to think what Nebraska feels like right now, because at home, senior day, and you just stink it up. You just didn't play well. The whole game, they really didn't play well and never got in a groove. And it looked like, honestly, other than Juwan Gary and Sam Hoiberg, I'm not sure anybody played good for them. But they were flat, and Iowa took advantage and got that momentum. And it just tells you, the one thing it kind of tells me because they want to play for this coach and this coaching staff, and that matters to them. And playing in March matters to them when it means something. The tournament, are they going to run 5 in 5 days? Probably not. I'm not bold enough, I'm not crazy enough to predict that, but you got a chip in a chair, as they say in the poker biz, and you got a chance. So who knows? You get hot and you just somehow you cobble together. They figured some things out defensively, I think, in the last week. Playing a little more zone, kind of preserving the legs of some guys, and maybe that's helping them. But it certainly, I think, helped them a little bit today.
Let's look ahead to Indy, because before you can win a championship, and we're not predicting that, but you got to take things one game at a time. A Wednesday night game, and I know it, because for the Iowa fans listening to this, the Iowa fans that are on your website and all that aren't celebrating that Iowa made the Big Ten tournament. If that makes any sense, like that wasn't the goal, is to sneak into the Big Ten tournament. So we understand that. Moving on to the NCAA tournament, they get Ohio State. On paper, Big Ten tournament. Thank you. They get Ohio State. Not a great matchup, in my opinion. What do you see from that matchup, and what do they have to do to be successful? And hey, maybe Thursday, Iowa, Illinois. You never know. But they got to take care of Ohio State first. What do you know about the Buckeyes, and what do they got to do on Wednesday night?
Yeah, Ohio State handled them pretty good earlier in the year. It was at the end of January 27th. They played each other, and Iowa still had Owen Freeman out there. Josh Dix did not have a good game. He was 0-7, didn't score a point, and Brock did not score either. That was when Drew Thelwell had a really good game that game, and Owen played well. But Sadu came off the bench, had 13 points. But other than that, I mean, it got out of hand in the second half. Price Sanford had 2. So, but other than that, Iowa gave up 52 in the second half. You can't do that and win. So they always seem to have trouble with Bruce Thornton, the point guard. And they bounced Iowa in the Big Ten tournament last year, if you remember, up in Minneapolis. And Thornton had a big game. He had in the first game this year 15 and 7. So they give Iowa problems. So it's going to be a tough road for Iowa in this one. But it's a game that they could win. But the first meeting, 82-65, pretty one-sided.
Yeah. No. Well, let's big picture this, because I kind of just mentioned, there's those Iowa fans out there that it felt, Tom, and maybe you can talk on this and maybe you disagree, but it felt like there was a portion of the fan base, I don't know how big, I think bigger than maybe you'd expect, that was almost rooting against Iowa on Sunday. Just big picture this, because yes, it's a great victory. They play, they move on. I think that's great, but there's that portion of the fan base that knows the sooner you get to the finish line, the sooner you get maybe an answer. Big picture wise, your thoughts on the big picture of Iowa basketball right now as we sit here on a Monday?
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. They're gonna. Beth Getz is going to have to say something after the season concludes. I think within 24 hours after the season concludes, she's got to give a vote of confidence or whatever else she wants to do. She may have a sit down and say, I need some changes, need some things to look different for this to move forward. It's just, you can't let that one twist in the wind for very long. Because you gotta have some certainty to tell your fan base about. Hey, we're moving ahead with Fran, and here's what it's going to look like. Or door B, whatever that behind what's behind door number 2. We'll find out.
Yeah,
that's how it's got to be. But she's going to have to say something fairly quickly, I think. And hopefully she is in Indianapolis, and maybe she'll answer some questions.
Tommy, when you look
There
also,
there may be a reporter that asks her some questions.
that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Be happy to.
Yeah. When you look at, it was funny because whatever happens to Fran, it's interesting to find out the way people feel whenever he's done coaching about him 5 years down the line. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes a little while to look back at a legacy. Tomorrow, here on Off the Air, we're going to be joined by Nicholas Baer, who was a little vocal on social media over the weekend defending Fran. And you understand that. That's a guy who played for Fran. And just, I think, kind of reminding people that, yes, this year, maybe last year, was a little bit of a struggle, but the things that Fran has done for this program, a program he took over from Todd Licklider 14, 15 years ago, that was awful, and the things that he accomplished. We'll have time for this, but how do you see Fran McCaffery and in a big picture, not just maybe the last couple years? And I'm not saying it's endorsing him saying, or you think he should make a change, but I think it's a big picture when it comes to what Fran McCaffery has done at the University of Iowa.
I'd say the job Fran has done is underappreciated by the fan base. I really do. I think that he's done more with less than you would imagine. I mean, it's just, and had really good success. Has he gotten them to the second weekend in the NCAA tournament? Nope. Can't say that he's done that. And that seems to be the defining characteristic of Iowa basketball right now. And I get the frustration. I mean, I was sitting next to Jess Settles at the last home game, and Jess goes, basically, my old butt was playing the last time we made a Sweet 16. That's true. Jess was on the court for those games, and that was it. And, you would think you would just luck into it somehow. And, but they haven't. And that just seems to be the thing that sticks in the craw of every Iowa fan right now, is they can't get over that bridge to get to the Sweet 16, get to that second weekend. They may have ticker tape parades in Iowa City when they finally do break that. I would laugh hysterically if Iowa won 5 in 5 days and went 2 more in the NCAA tournament and made it to the second weekend. I would laugh and laugh and laugh and watch it happen.
Yeah. You know what, Tom? It's one of those things, too, where we talked about after the frustrations of losing in Buffalo or narrowly losing to Tennessee, almost an amazing comeback to make it to a Sweet 16. I mean, you can go on and on about the near misses, and we've always talked on the Hawkeye Report podcast about –
you should talk to Nicholas about that tomorrow, about that near miss, and just I know those guys. I know those guys still think about that game. They really do. I've talked to J-Bo and those guys about it.
And what's the difference in the program if they win that one game? And I'm not saying it, but you think back to, we talked to Jess Settles and
one less talking point that they would have.
Yeah, but what happens?
Would be something else. It'll be, well, we didn't make it to an Elite Eight. We've never made it to an Elite Eight. The goalposts get moved for convenience sake.
I completely understand that, and I think that's true, but you don't know what happens. I think Tennessee lost their next game, but you don't know what happens. Like, what happens if that's the one that goes to an Elite Eight, Final Four, whatever. But I always
go back to the first one that they made when they made the first 4 game at Tennessee, and then that bracket opened up with Duke got beat by Lehigh, I think, and I think it was Lehigh maybe, and Tennessee got to play that garbage UMass team that shouldn't have been seated where it was, and boom, all of a sudden Tennessee is in the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
that could have been Iowa's path had they won that game against Tennessee and Dayton.
But Tommy, what we've always talked about, it's going to happen at the most unexpected
This would be
time.
This would be the most unexpected.
Right? This would be like if you drew it up, like this would be the most unexpected. But I think, and I'm really excited to talk to Nicholas because there is some disconnect. And it's like I don't know, but it's like a good friendship that's ending poorly. And maybe when you get done, you think like, man, that was a good friendship. It just didn't end well. And I don't know if it's ending. I'm not trying to get carried away. But with that being said, I think people do forget that, we can talk all day about, COVID took that one team away that had Luca and Joe, and they were playing well going down to Indianapolis, and who knows what happens that year. I think with that group, I thought you would think you would get 2 chances to make it to the Sweet 16. And because of COVID, you only got 1. And then, of course, things got wonky, and, there's Oregon who doesn't have a first-round game because of COVID, and it was a bad matchup in the second round, and you can get – but I think you're right, though, Tom. If they broke through one time – we had Jess on a couple weeks ago, and he said with Tom Izzo, he struggles, and then all of a sudden the Flintstones come, and it's one breakthrough, and then you're there. And that one breakthrough – never happened for Fran McCaffrey in the NCAA tournament. But Nicholas pointed out and we'll talk to him tomorrow on social media, all-time winningest coach in Iowa history, developing players that are playing in the NBA. That doesn't happen very often. It didn't happen for a decade after Dr. Tom. National players of the year and first team all Big Ten guys all the time. I mean, there's some really good things and stories you can take from Fran McCaffrey, but there's a lot of things that you can do the opposite of. Of course, we talk all the time, the waning fan base, and Carver Hawkeye Arena may be the biggest one, but it'll definitely be an interesting time. Tommy, you're going to Indy. Are you going to eat at the Eagle too? Are you going to tick me off like Chad did, and you're going to eat at the Eagle?
I'm going to try. We'll see.
I'm on this stupid diet right now. I would do nothing more.
See the pictures of some of that cornbread and some chicken.
Oh, the mac and cheese is good. I mean, it's just it's all so good. Tell people how they can check out your stuff because super busy right now. We talked a little wrestling. They finished 3rd at the Big Tens. Tanner has that covered. Kyle's doing a great job with baseball and women's basketball. You're going from Nebraska to Indy and all over in between. How can they check out the Hawkeye Report and all that good stuff?
Yeah, just go to HawkeyeReport.com. We've got actually a special. It's first week, $1. That's all.
Yeah.
$1. Sign up, and if you don't like it, take off. That's okay.
If Iowa wins, will you offer Ken a place to stay in Indy for the next game?
Sure.
That sounds creepy.
I've got my orange on today, so yeah.
Illini Tom. That's what they call him. Illini Tom. So, all right. Well, if you need anything when you're in Indy, if you need to bring me back some food, I'll let you do that. But Tommy will have you guys covered in Indianapolis, and then more importantly, after Indianapolis, because it's going to be very interesting whenever this season comes to an end, and you're going to have to wait, because they could be playing in the postseason. So whenever it comes to an end, it should be fascinating stuff in Iowa City, and Tom Kakert will have you covered. All right, Tommy, we appreciate you. Be good. Be safe in Indy.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report talking a little Hawkeyes here on a Monday in the Quad Cities on Off the Air. Of course, Iowa will take on Ohio State in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. That is on Wednesday. If they win that, they would play Illinois for the second time this season. Of course, the Illini just knocked off the Hawkeyes a few weeks ago by 20 points down in Champaign. And of course, everyone wondering and waiting what the future of Iowa basketball will be like after the season comes to an end eventually, when it does. We got a lot more to get to on Off the Air on a Monday. Coming up right after this, it was an interesting weekend of high school basketball. And one of the biggest, most interesting games wasn't even in our area. We'll explain the Lanark Eastland-Pecatonica game, and we'll talk about it with the Coach's Corner. How about Sean Taylor, Scott Hardison, and Henry Hall? The three of them will join me next right here on Off the Air. When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Monday right here in the Quad Cities. It was a fun weekend of high school basketball with local teams. Not a lot of games, but some really good ones. We want to congratulate Rock Falls. They're sectional champions for the first time since 2006. They'll play to go to state tonight. We also want to wish Central DeWitt boys best of luck. They play tonight at state at 5:30 against Clear Lake. Congratulations to Princeton. They had a great season. They lost to Rock Falls. And boy, Sherrard gave everything that Peoria Manual wanted and then some on Friday night before eventually falling in that sectional championship game. But one of the big games around the state was a small school game, a 1A game between Pecatonica and Lanark Eastland. Of course, Pecatonica ranked number 1 in the state. They had already beaten Lanark Eastland twice this season, including by about 30 in December, so they slowed things down. In fact, they didn't take a shot in the first quarter. It was 1-0 after the first quarter, 8-5 at halftime, and Lanark Eastland goes on to shock Pecatonica. It has everybody talking about a shot clock and everything else. So I figured I would call in this morning. I would call in two of the best high school coaches I know and Scott Hardison to talk a little basketball right there. That's not fair at all. Scott Hardison from Geneseo, the Geneseo girls basketball coach. Henry Hall is the head coach of the Rock Island girls, and Sean Taylor making a return appearance, Moline head basketball coach. And I told the other guys, you want to be on, you just win, Sean. This is your second time on. That's the best thing you've done all year.
Yeah, I wish I would have won a little more.
So, fellas, thank you guys for doing this. You're all three very opinionated, and I love that. And I kind of want to talk to you guys about this because, and I guess we'll kind of go clockwise, and we'll start with you, Coach Taylor, because everybody's talking about it. It was a strategy, no shot clock for another 2 years or another year. It comes in 2 years. Your thoughts of Lanark Eastland's strategy, if you will, on Friday night?
I thought it was smart. I mean, they found a way that they thought they could win, and to me, it was on Pecatonica to make them play a little faster. I think, it takes – I thought Pecatonica could have gone after them a little bit more and force the issue, but they played a little bit conservative and close to the vest, and it worked out in Lanark's favor.
Coach Hardison, your thoughts? Are you going crazy because they're not playing, or do you kind of agree?
Here's my take on it. I 100% am in favor of a shot clock because of this. I don't like the standing around. However, I am also 100% behind strategy. And within the rules of the game and the way it's set up right now, there is no shot clock. And it obviously was in Eastland's advantage to play this way. I agree with Sean. I think Pecatonica should have come out and played a little bit. I think Eastland started the game and tried to attack that zone for about 20 seconds, decided it wasn't going to work. And this was obviously what they had in their bag. So hats off to the Eastland staff for playing that way. I really want to see us play with a shot clock, but right now, this is the way the rules are set up. And I'm in favor of winning a ball game, and it worked for Eastland.
That is true. Coach Hall, your young ladies get up and down the court very fast. I have a feeling this isn't the basketball you enjoy watching. Your thoughts on this strategy?
No, it's not, but I do agree with both Sean and Scott. I mean, if I like to win, so if the rules are in favor of me winning and I have to hold the ball, we're going to do it. It's not something I would like to do or want to do, or my kids definitely don't want to do it, but I mean, hats off for them to come up with that scheme to do it, and obviously it worked for him. So,
with that being said, Coach Hall, a shot clock's coming. Is it coming soon enough to high school basketball on the Illinois side of the river?
I'm gonna say I wish it was coming next year for this purpose, but we have to wait one more year out, and I think it's needed. I do. I don't think it's needed around here as much as it is in the Chicagoland area. I have some buddies I played basketball with at Augie that are coaches up there, and their games are a little more. Seems to be on this side downstate, so I mean it's coming. I wish it was here sooner. It doesn't really play an impact, I don't think, on any teams in our conference. I don't feel like, but I think it's something that's needed.
Coach Hardison, we mentioned strategy, and there's tons of strategies in basketball. Are you going to foul up 3 with 10 seconds to go? All those kind of things go into basketball. Kind of talk more about that, because a lot of people are frustrated and angry and all those kind of things, but it is a game of strategy. It's not something that's as black and white as everybody thinks. Strategy is a big part of basketball. Strategies that you mess up every single night. I understand.
Well, that's why you have assistant coaches, and Henry will be the first one to tell you. If we screw up the strategy, our assistant coaches have it exactly right. But I'll tell you, that strategy fouling when you're up 3 with, under 8 seconds, I'll tell you right now, my good friend up at St. Ignatius, Kara Doyle, in the semifinal this weekend, I was down at State. They were up 3 with 8.4 seconds to go and a timeout, and they didn't foul Fremd. And Brian Urlacher's niece, Coco Urlacher, hit a step-back 3 to tie it, and then they won in double overtime. I think strategy is very important. But again, like I was talking to some coaches down there, you got to do what you practice. If you don't practice fouling in that situation, then you don't foul. You've got to have a strategy in place. You got to believe it. You got to have your girls, or in Sean's case, your boys, believing in what they do. Quick shout out too for girls basketball for a local area. Madison Austin from Sterling got voted first team IBCA All-State this weekend for 3A. So shout out to Coach Jackson up in Sterling.
Absolutely. Sterling, a fantastic basketball season. Coach Taylor, when I hear this happening on Friday and people texting me on Saturday, I thought of 2 things. Pleasant Valley did this, 12, 15 years ago before the Iowa side got it. But then I also remembered you guys a couple of years ago because, and you can correct me, was it state championship or semifinal? I don't remember which one it was, but you guys got a big lead, a huge lead, and you slowed it down in the second half with a big lead. And I remember you saying to me, we're the highest scoring team in the state, but we're here to win a basketball game. It kind of goes to that because 2 years ago, and you can correct me whichever one it was, I want to say it was the state's championship game. Maybe it was the state semifinal, but same situation for you guys. You get out to a big lead. The important thing was to win the game, not to impress the crowd and the fans and all that kind of stuff, correct?
Yeah, it was actually both. We were ahead in the fourth, and we had the best point guard in the state, and we made them chase. And we had 4 guys that shot over 75% from the foul line, so we were going to play to win. We probably would have won the other way, but again, Brock had the ball. I felt pretty confident that nobody was going to take it from him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And strategies are important, and that's a strategy that won on that night. Obviously, joining us right now, 3 coaches from the area. Moline, Sean Taylor, Scott Hardison from Geneseo, and Henry Hall from Rock Island. Gentlemen, big change in high school basketball, I think, this year, and I think a good one, was the way the fouls are structured. It went from your 5th foul every quarter, it's 2 free throws, as opposed to doing it in halves and getting to 7 for the one-on-one and the double bonus after 10. We'll start with you, Coach Taylor. Did you like the change this year? Would you tweak anything to it?
I did like it. I like the fact that, if you foul early, then the whole half you are not shooting free throws. So you get to reset at the quarter, and, you get a feel for how the officials are calling the game. So I like the fact that you just don't watch a free throw shooting contest the entire night. So I thought it made for better basketball.
Absolutely. Coach Hardison, would you agree or would you tweak it at all?
No, I really liked it. I actually think men's college basketball, one who said that men's college basketball is the only one that's not playing quarters and resetting the fouls. I think that's really important. If you get, some quick fouls on you at the beginning of the first half or the first quarter and you're shooting free throws the rest of the way, it's no fun for the players. It's no fun for the coaches. It's no fun for the fans. I love the resetting. And I think 2 at 5, 2 free throws after 5 is good. And I would keep it that way. I really like it.
Coach Hall, you making this unanimous? It was a fun change. I thought it went well.
No, I'm making it unanimous for sure. I think it speeds the game up a little bit too, to be honest with you. And if you were like us this year, we struggled sometimes shooting free throws. So the fact that I knew we at least got 2 chances at it was a little better than a 1-on-1. But again, I thought it sped the game up, and I'm all in favor of it.
All right, let's get you guys to say something controversial before we let you go. We're going to go reverse order. Coach Hall, if you could change anything about the game, if you could make a rule change, whatever it may be, a arc underneath the basket for, charge versus block, or obviously the shot clock's coming, so don't say shot clock because it's coming soon. So what would your change, or would you have a change to high school basketball?
I would like to change not the end of games. When you call timeout, when you get a rebound, that you can advance the ball to half court.
Oh.
As they do with the women's game. I know that seems a little different, but it's much easier, I feel like, drawing up a play from half court than it is full court. And you took my other one, what I would have done with the arc, but they never call charges half the time anyway, so.
Coach Hardison,
that's the one I would go with.
That's really good. I agree with that. And you know what? That's a women's game thing. That's a girls' game thing because they don't do that in men's college basketball. But if you look at the NBA, and I'm almost positive the WNBA, they do that as well. Coach Hardison, God forbid you get to make a change in high school basketball. They make you the commissioner of girls' high school basketball. What are you doing?
Well, first off, to be controversial, I believe Sean got to go first a couple of times. Henry got to go first. I never got to go first. So obviously you started the podcast.
The middle one.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it is what it is. You started off by saying I was your least favorite coach in this podcast. So I'm okay with that. But I do want to point that out to your listeners before I get started. Secondly, my second shout out, apparently I'm the only one who gives shout outs, but my nephew, Ryan McGarry, is playing for DeWitt at state tonight. So I'm a big DeWitt Sabres fan as they're trying to run through state. My change when you first mentioned it was going to be the same thing Henry just said. So I don't like to agree with Henry, but a lot of times we do. I do love giving him a hard time. I guess if I had to come up with a different one other than advancing it with the timeout, I think at the college level, and I'm okay with us if you're gonna make me, and it's not the advance, the 5-second call. I don't think we need that, with where we're at. I think closely guarded bothers people, and a lot of times that kids don't even know they're getting counted there. So as long as the closely guarded thing, I would say let's get rid of that and just let us play.
Before I go to Coach Taylor, do you have any, I feel like I'm on a radio show. Do you have any shout outs or requests that you'd like to do this morning before we get rolling? Is there a loved one or a high school sweetheart you want to send out anything to? Gee, Merry Christmas, Scott. Okay, I have to be a pain in the butt. Coach Taylor, anything?
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yeah. Do you have any?
Scott, I thought we were on. I thought he was going to give a Casey Kasem request, long distance. Well, I have two things. One, going back to the strategy. Everybody says foul, foul, foul when you're up 3. I was, I think, 19 years old, and I was an assistant to Tom Cooper, and we were up 3 at Lincoln Land. And I told him, and I was young, I knew everything. So I said, foul, we can't lose. There were 3 seconds to go in the game. So we foul. They make the first one, miss the second one, tip it. The guy gets it behind the arc, catches, shoot it, goes around and round and out. And Coach Cooper looks at me and goes, can't lose, huh? So right then I sort of knew I didn't know everything. So the rule change I'd like to see, I think games go too fast. I'd like to see either 9-minute quarters or 10-minute quarters. I think it just goes too fast. I think it gives, you always want to play more guys, and playing 4 more minutes or 8 more minutes would allow you to play more. I know Wisconsin plays 18-minute halves, and I just think it gives kids more of an opportunity to play.
That's an interesting one, because I'll be the first to say, guys, in my old life of running around shooting high school basketball games, if you didn't plan things correctly, you're going to miss games. I mean, games can start at 7 and be done by 8:05, 8:10, depending on all that kind of stuff as well. So an interesting – would you – Coach Taylor, would you like – and any of you guys, I'll talk to all you guys, would you want the half arc underneath the basket to help with block and charge calls?
Absolutely. I think it's player safety. I think it's more action. I think it's a no-brainer, except it costs more to put it. And that's another expense. That's the reason why I think Illinois doesn't have the shot clock. Iowa's got a lot more money than Illinois, obviously.
Coach Hardison, I'll start with you on this one so you quit crying. There is shot clock coming in 2 years. Would you like to see shot clocks next year in the fresh soft games or the JV games to get the younger kids used to what they're going to be ready for? I talked to a coach today that kind of and Jordan Harris out at Rock Ridge, and he talked about talking to the conference about that, about letting the younger kids use the shot clock to get ready for it. I know you guys have had experiences probably in the shootouts. I mean, I think all you guys have been around them, but how do you get kids ready for a big change when it comes to a shot clock in 2 years?
If I was going to start with one, I would think I would start with varsity. Just so they're ready, and then the kids who are going to be around for a couple of years. If you have younger kids on the varsity level, a freshman, sophomore, junior playing, I would start it. If you're going to start with one, I would start it with just varsity because I think they're capable of handling that at that level. I don't think I would start with your fresh soft just because your varsity kids are more versed in how to play and how your program is playing. So if you're going to start one, I would start with just varsity next year. And yes, I would love to see that. It didn't bother us at all playing in the Illinois-Iowa shootout, having a shot clock. I think your kids are so adaptable. I don't think they're going to have a problem with the shot clock at all. I think you're going to have to use it at practice. And I agree with Sean. It's money, buying them, getting somebody to run it, paying somebody to run it for every game. And that's why they gave them the extra year to get ready for it. But yeah, and the arc underneath, I don't think it would be any problem to put that in and play. You don't want somebody taking a charge underneath the hoop anyways.
No, I agree. Before I let you guys all go, worst officials in the area. Coach Taylor, we'll start with you.
Why you want to get me in trouble? We have no bad ones. We have great ones, and I seriously appreciate all the work they do. It's a hard job, and dealing with idiots like me, it's not always fun, I'm sure, for them. But we have a great group of officials in this area.
Oh, none of them watch the show. Quit kissing up. Come on. Coach Hall, is Don Umlin the worst referee in the area, or is it Sergio, or is it Kevin? I'm going to start calling them out by name.
I feel like they're all three outstanding. I'm sure it's not fun officiating any games, especially if Scott and I are playing against each other, because that's just a complaint fest on both halves of the court. But I'm with Sean. I think I have a lot of respect for him. It probably doesn't seem like that during the game because I look mean and angry, and looks like I'm mad at them all the time. But they do an amazing job, and they do a job that I could not do. So I'm definitely not going to talk about those three either.
You guys are soft, I tell you. One more for you, Coach Hardison. And I know a lot of referees. And when people ask me, like, why do you know all of them? Well, when you spend 25 years standing on a baseline with a camera on your shoulder, you get to know the guy that runs right past you or takes timeouts by you and all that kind of stuff. So I've become friends with a lot of them. And they all talk about just having a conversation. When it comes to officials, that's all you want, right? Is the ability to have a conversation during the game?
The best officials will talk to you during a game. It's the guys or the ladies that won't have a conversation, won't talk to you, won't tell you what they saw. Those are the officials that you have the problems with. The conversation with them. You might not always get the answer you want, but you can always have a conversation with them. Amanda Kokix did the 3A championship game. She's from Kewanee. She does a great job. She's another one from our area that gets recognition. So down at the the state tournament, it's always good. And to see female officials on the female side is also a really good thing. But I think the conversation 100% makes the coach-official relationship better.
Man, you're actually calling them out to butter them up for next year. That's well done.
Yes.
That's well done.
Hey, I have another rule change.
All right. Go on.
So I agree with Scott, but I think Scott gets more ear time than the rest of us do. Like if I get 2 conversations, he gets like 10. Well, I don't know if it's his personality. I don't know if he schmoozes. I don't know what it is, but
Henry, I'll tell you, they don't like to talk to you when you're at half court. You're at half court on the court, dribbling the ball. That's when they won't talk to you.
It's a good thing there's no coach's box rule. Oh, wait, there is. My bad.
Coach Taylor, they haven't been on the show, so they want to talk more than you. That's understandable. They didn't win this year. You won this year. You've won 700 and some games. These guys combined ain't even public. No, I shouldn't say that. Coach Hall, 60 seconds. John Cena heel turn, huh? What? What do you think?
I loved it. I don't know how it's gonna pan out here for the WrestleMania. I've heard a lot of rumors, but I liked it. I was not disappointed with it at all.
I love it. I love that I can talk to him about wrestling without you guys making fun of me. So thanks for letting us be dorks for 30 seconds. Coach Taylor, Owen Freeman texting me nonstop about wrestling. He's the biggest wrestling dork you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah, well.
No comment?
I can see that he would be a wrestling fan. So
that works.
I'm excited that he knows how to text too.
That he does. Just about the dumbest things. So, all right, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys doing this. This is my first Coach's Corner, and I feel like I got 3 really, really good ones. So best of luck. Enjoy the offseason, all that good stuff. I got to put up with Hardison. He's a 4th grade basketball coach with me. He helps me out, and we got a lot of work to do, Scotty. So
I am Matt Randazzo's assistant in 4th grade basketball. If that tells you how much he respects me as a coach.
Hey, I say before we let you go, and I keep on going, but Sean, can you tell these two what our coaching record is against each other?
Well, I know I have a couple misdemeanors. I don't know what your record is. Probably a felony or 2.
I got you twice, right? 3 times? Once. I know there was one game.
Lady, yeah, you're like lying over itchy.
Something like that. All right, boys, before this gets inappropriate and bad, I'll let you guys all go. Thanks so much. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you guys real soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
All right.
Thank you.
Sean Taylor, Henry Hall, and Scott Hardison join us talking some high school basketball because it was a very controversial weekend, and I agree with what all 3 of them said. I know that I have had some text messages from coaches not agreeing with what we all just talked about that think that it should never happen, but it's a strategy, and eventually that strategy will go away with a rule change that can't come soon enough. So we are just getting started on a Monday here in the Quad Cities. We'll be back right after this. When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfathers is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Are you looking for the Quad Cities' best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air in the Quad Cities here on a Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate that. X has been a different story here today. Right now, X is down, and then it's back, and then it's down, and then it's back. An interesting Monday to have it happen with NFL free agency starting. So I'm kind of doing it the old school way. In between breaks and stuff, I got my TV on over here, and I'm watching the television to find out what's going on instead of being glued to my phone. The Bears making another big addition to their offensive line. You can tell that Ben Johnson came from Detroit, and in Detroit they had success on the offensive line, and that was a strength. And obviously the Bears did not have that last year, and they go ahead and they signed Drew Dahlman, center from the Atlanta Falcons, to a 3-year, $42 million contract. So the overhaul has been done in the middle. I don't know if they get a tackle in the draft or exactly what they do, but Drew Dahlman will be in the middle. Joe Tooney and Jonah Jackson will be the guards next year for the Chicago Bears. So now they can go into the draft with options. Like I mentioned, a tackle, defensive side. I think they go after Ashton Genty. Knowing Ben Johnson, he wants a weapon. He wants a home run guy. He wants an explosive playmaker on offense. And I think that is the guy you're going to see go to the Bears coming up with the 10th pick in the draft. Coming up in April. So that is the news. Plenty of other free agency going on, but that's the big one for the Bears so far. Chris Godwin is going back to the Buccaneers. A bunch of other moves happening right now, but you can't check it out on X because sometimes X is working and sometimes, most of the time, it is not. So we'll see if that gets fixed, hopefully coming up real soon. We want to wish Rock Falls the best of luck tonight. They will play for a trip to state. They're going to be at Musgrove Fieldhouse over in Sterling, taking on Chicago Christ the King. So best of luck to Rock Falls. Also, good luck to Central DeWitt. The boys taking the court at up in Des Moines at 5:30, quarterfinal action. That game against Clear Creek. So we wish the 8-seed Sabres, who have already knocked off 2 highly ranked foes in the postseason, see if they can keep this David versus Goliath thing going and get a big victory tonight in the state quarterfinals. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we talked about it earlier, but Nicholas Baer, former Iowa Hawkeye, former Bettendorf standout, will join us to kind of talk about not just this Iowa basketball team, but about Fran's days at Iowa. Obviously, Nicholas played for him. His brother Michael played for him. A lot of success under him. A lot of talk recently about Fran's legacy at Iowa. And I don't know if it ends soon, if it ends in a couple years. We don't know that yet. But a lot of talk has already been about like what Fran's legacy will be. So I wanted to talk about Nicholas about that because a little more active on social media lately, and maybe rightfully so for him, kind of giving the Iowa perspective when it comes to Fran McCaffrey and that side, because they can't come hop on social media and defend themselves all the time as well. So excited to catch up with the Bear Cage. That'll be coming up tomorrow. Also tracking down Rob Brooks sometime this week. Kind of a nice little off week before the Big Ten or the NCAA tournament starts for the Iowa women, so we can kind of recap what the end of the season's been like for them as well. A lot more to get to this week as well. Also want to point out, really excited, former Bettendorf standout and head coach of Central Michigan, Matt Drinkle will be on the show next week. Really excited about that as well. So a lot of things we're looking forward to and we're planning here on the show. We want to thank our great sponsors like we do each and every day. Godfather's, Snoop's Chips and Salsa, a bunch of great sponsors. Going to be adding another one here this week as well that we're super excited about. So we appreciate our sponsors for allowing us to bring you this show each and every day. And most importantly, we appreciate you guys for watching each and every day as well. Thank you so much for doing so today. We'll be back with another edition of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo coming up tomorrow. We will see you guys then.